Then came the big move. Julian was preparing for the Omnis Acquisition Gala, a highly publicized event meant to cement the company's dominance and secure a massive round of funding. It was to be broadcast live to thousands of investors, press, and government officials. His keynote speech would be the centerpiece, and that's where I planned to strike. Working with Maya, my trusted former colleague, we developed a custom script designed to hijack the event's AV system at a precise moment, a stealth override that would shut down the usual presentation and broadcast my evidence live instead. I remember the hours leading up to the gala like a fever dream. The weight of what we were about to do pressed down on me, but I felt alive in a way I hadn't in months. This was the moment where years of silence, lies, and erasure would be shattered. At the venue, security was tight, but Maya's forged press credentials worked like a charm. I moved through the crowd, unnoticed, a ghost in a sea of suits and smiles. The press room buzzed with anticipation as Damien took the stage, exuding the confidence of a man who believed himself untouchable. When he uttered the words, "Omnis Core was built on trust and transparency," I triggered the script. The screens went black. A silence filled the room, broken only by the sound of my voice, calm and clear, streaming over the speakers. You were told the product was tested and secure. You were lied to. The screens flickered to life with documents, emails, and audio clips. The true story of deception laid bare for all to see. The crowd erupted, shouts, phones raised, cameras rolling. Julian's composure cracked. He tried to speak, but his microphone was cut. I slipped out the back, heart pounding, knowing that while I had set the fire, the flames would now consume everything I'd uncovered. The moment the screen went black and my voice cut through the ballroom's high ceilings, something shifted in the air, something electric and terrifying. Investors who had been smiling seconds before now stared wide-eyed, their phones raised like weapons, capturing every damning frame I unleashed. Julian Maris froze. His polished facade cracked. He fumbled for the microphone but found nothing. Every lie, every fabricated document, every illicit phone call, broadcast live. The room was chaos, voices raised in outrage. Some tried to defend the company, but the evidence was undeniable. Security swarmed the stage, but I was already slipping away, disappearing into the labyrinth of hallways, adrenaline coursing through my veins. Outside, the city seemed indifferent to the storm inside, but I knew it would roar soon enough. News outlets exploded overnight. The story was everywhere. Social media, news websites, 24-hour channels. Omnis Core's stock plummeted as regulators announced investigations. Within hours, Julian's carefully constructed empire was crumbling. Board members resigned, contracts were suspended, the acquisition deal froze, and behind closed doors, Julian was scrambling to save himself. But the walls were closing in. I stayed in the shadows. Careful? Watching? The company's IT team scrambled to find the source of the breach, but every trail I'd left was a carefully laid dead end. They searched for a ghost. Meanwhile, I gathered allies, former employees, hackers, journalists, people who'd lost everything to the company's lies. Together, we planned the next steps, because this wasn't just about exposing Julian. It was about dismantling the corrupt system that let him thrive. The pressure mounted. Anonymous threats came through encrypted channels. Stop now or pay the price. But I was no longer afraid. I had the truth, and the power of the system was finally mine to wield. The weeks following the gala were relentless. Federal agencies swarmed Omnis Core's headquarters, seized servers, audited books, questioned every executive and engineer. Julian Maris vanished from public view. Rumors circulated. Was he negotiating a deal, fleeing the country, or preparing for the fight of his life? Meanwhile, the company I'd helped build unraveled. Partners withdrew. Investors lost faith. Employees whispered in hushed tones. But amidst the chaos, one thing was clear. My name was no longer a secret. The girl who'd been erased was now the voice of truth. I wasn't looking for fame. I was looking for change. So I created the Archive Project, a decentralized platform for whistleblowers to safely upload evidence of corporate corruption, designed to protect, amplify, and preserve truth. It started small, but grew quickly. Hundreds of submissions flooded in from around the world. Stories of betrayal, cover-ups, silenced voices, each one a thread unraveling the fabric of corrupt power. 1 year later, I stood before a crowded lecture hall. Tech students, journalists, activists, all eager to hear how a single woman brought down a titan. I told them, "Power hides in silence, truth grows in noise, and courage is the spark." They applauded. I smiled, because this was just the beginning. The final notification popped up on my encrypted phone. New submission. Internal audit discrepancies detected at Novatech Systems. I leaned back, closed my eyes, and whispered, "Let's get to work." They didn't give me a reason. No meeting, no memo. Just a silent badge reader flashing red when I swiped into the building Monday morning. I tried again. Red, again. Still red. The security guard at the front desk didn't even look me in the eye. Just picked up the phone, mumbled something I couldn't hear, and then said, "You've been removed from the system." That was it. I stood there in the glass lobby of Omnis Core Technologies, the company I'd helped build, wearing a badge, with my name on it and holding the same coffee I'd held every morning for 3 years. But I was gone. Just like that. No email. No explanation. No one from HR. Nothing, except they forgot something. I didn't just work at Omnis. I built Omnis. Every process, every background script, every line of automation between departments. I was the architect of the infrastructure, the invisible veins of the company. And when they removed me from the system, they removed me from the front end, the login portal, the employee badge ID list, but not from the root access layer. Because I'd hard-coded a backdoor into the internal operations framework 2 years ago during a critical migration. No one else even knew it existed. Not even Julian Maris, the man who just erased me like I was a typo in a press release. He didn't fire an employee. He fired the wrong engineer. I took the train home in silence. Didn't call anyone. Didn't post. Didn't scream. I just opened my laptop, plugged in the off-grid tether, and pinged the system. Access granted. I was still in. Not through the employee hub. Through the bones of it all, the part of the system you only see if you designed it. Within 10 minutes, I was watching the company's internal communications flow in real time. Julian's executive Slack threads, calendar pings, live changes. To payroll and project timelines. I wasn't looking for revenge, I was looking for answers. Why me? Why now? But I didn't have to guess, because 5 minutes later I found it. An internal thread between Julian and the CFO from 48 hours ago. We can't keep her around. She's too embedded. But she built the ops structure. She'll see us cut. Her. Then lock her badge, kill the inbox, and revoke her account before she gets the memo. Quiet. Fast. And the breach? We pin that on her too. I sat back in my chair, heart pounding. They'd planned this, not just to fire me, to erase me, to use me as a shield for something I hadn't even seen coming. But now I had access, and access is power. They wanted quiet? They were about to hear everything. I didn't need an invitation. I already had the keys. Logging in from my secure off-grid rig, I bypassed the front-facing dashboards, those shiny control panels designed for suits, and surface-level operators, and dove straight into the back end. The real heartbeat of Omnis Core. Cameras from the executive floor flickered on. I watched Julian Maris pacing in his glass office, phone pressed tight to his ear, voice low but sharp. His conversations cut like knives, threats disguised as business deals, lies cloaked in reassurances. The chat logs confirmed it. Data rerouted. Project files renamed to cover tracks. Code repositories overwritten with placeholder text right before audits. It was a house of cards built on secrets. But worse than that was the truth about me. A thread in the HR channel named Ops Breach revealed a plan to frame me for a massive data leak. I was supposed to be the scapegoat, the one they'd throw to the wolves, while the rest of the team looked the other way. I sat still for a moment. The betrayal cut deep, not because it was unexpected, but because it was personal. Had trusted them, built their trust, and they used that trust as a weapon. I started tapping into other feeds, voice comms, text threads between department heads, even encrypted messages from the boardroom. Each new discovery was worse than the last. One file showed millions being funneled to a shell company disguised as a vendor for AI training modules. Another revealed suppressed bug reports that could have compromised contracts with government agencies. And still, Julian smiled in the live feeds. The man who erased me, oblivious that I was watching every move. That night, I didn't close the laptop. Instead, I crafted a plan. I would use their own system against them. I began setting digital tripwires, code that triggered alerts when critical files were accessed or deleted. I mapped every exit route for data leaks and placed silent flags at each node. If they moved against me, I'd know. And more importantly, so would the world. The city was quiet that night, but my mind was racing faster than ever. After days of silent hacking, careful digging, and encrypted file transfers, I finally found what I'd been searching for. The voice recordings buried deep inside Omnis Core's forgotten backup servers. They were relics, ignored by the careless IT team as the company rushed to upgrade systems and prepare for a critical acquisition. But they were gold to me. I settled into my dark room, the glow of the laptop illuminating my face. My fingers trembled as I clicked on the file named Exec Call Private 2019-1103 WAV. The file size was small, less than 5 minutes long, but I knew better than to underestimate it. The speakers crackled for a moment before the unmistakable voice of Julian Maris filled the room. Smooth, calculated, cold. She's a threat. Sky's too embedded. We can't risk her exposing what we're doing. The breach? We'll pin it on her. Quietly, cleanly. The investors won't ask questions. If the narrative is tight, my heart slammed against my ribs. A calm voice of conspiracy. My name, spoken in a sentence that spelled doom. I rewound and played it again. The way he said my name. No warmth, no hesitation, just cold calculation. He didn't just want me gone. He wanted me erased, forgotten, scapegoated. A second voice, deeper, cautious, responded. All logs for that weekend will be wiped. No backups, no traces. IT is instructed to comply immediately. Julian's voice, now with a thin smile in it, responded, Good. We close this chapter before it even opens. The weight of those words crushed me, but beneath it burned a fierce fire. They thought they could bury me with lies and deletions, but they'd made a fatal mistake. I had access, root access, the keys to the kingdom. I didn't waste a second. I copied the audio file, encrypted it, and stored it on 3 separate offline drives hidden in different locations. This wasn't just about self-preservation. It was about building an unshakable case. I wasn't naive. I knew this would escalate. Julian's paranoia would spike, security would clamp down. But I had one advantage, the element of surprise. The next days blurred together. I was constantly monitoring internal communications, laying digital traps and silent alarms that would alert me the moment anyone attempted to tamper with data connected to me or the breach. One evening, as the sun dipped beneath the skyline, a flood of alerts hit my phone. Unauthorized login attempts to the backup servers. Firewall exceptions triggered. The net was closing, but I was ready. I deployed my countermeasures, false error messages, looped system checks, and a stealth mode that masked my presence. Yet nothing prepared me for what came next. A live feed popped onto my monitor, an emergency board meeting in a glass-walled conference room at Omniscore HQ. Julian was pacing, flanked by grim-faced executives. I muted the audio feed and switched to full recording mode. Julian's voice cut sharply through the silence. If we don't control the narrative, the acquisition falls apart. Sky's leak is the only threat standing in our way. A sharp reply came from the CFO, cool but tense. We have contingencies, but they require swift action. Legal is preparing non-disclosure agreements. HR is ready to enforce. Julian's smile was a razor's edge. Then get rid of her. Quietly. Make it look like an exit. No waves. My stomach twisted. They had planned this for weeks. My firing was never about performance. It was a tactical move. But they underestimated me because I was already inside. The following day, when HR summoned me to a sterile conference room and handed me a terse termination letter, I smiled inside. They had no idea. I wasn't done yet. The morning after my firing was unlike any other. The building was the same. The gleaming glass, the sharp suits, the hum of computers, but the energy was different. A silent tension had settled over Omniscore. It was as if the company itself sensed the storm brewing beneath its surface. I wasn't inside anymore, but I was everywhere. The back doors I'd left hidden in the system weren't just entry points. They were my eyes and ears. Every keystroke, every encrypted message, every shift in server load was mine to watch. I started small. Random system glitches, delayed report generations, error messages in non-critical subsystems, odd lag spikes during data transfers. Little things to unsettle the operators, to make them question the stability they relied on. It was psychological warfare as much as it was technical. If they thought they had control, I intended to remind them they didn't.